Welcome to How to Decorate from Ballard Designs, a weekly podcast all about the trials and triumphs of decorating and redecorating your home. I'm Caroline. I'm on the marketing team.
And I'm Taryn, and I'm a product designer.
I'm Liz. I head up the creative team.
We're your hosts. Join the expert team at Ballard Designs for tips, tricks, and tales from interior designers, stylists, and other talents in the design world.
Plus, we'll answer your decorating dilemmas at the end of each episode.
We love answering your questions, so don't forget to email us at podcast@ballarddesigns.net.
Now, on with the show.
Well, we have some big news this week to share. We're launching a dorm collection, and our guest this week is Frances Lacefield Hovis. She is the owner of Room 422 and our latest partner in our dorm collection. In 2015, you started your own dorm brand, and you make bed skirts, headboards, all the accoutrements for dorm.
Yeah.
So we're thrilled to welcome you, chat with you all about dorm, and also to announce our collection, which all of the pieces are coordinated back to our bedding, and it's a whole sort of mix and match. We've got headboards, bed skirts, pillows, and then all the twin bedding that you need to coordinate. And it's so cute, and we're thrilled to have you here to pick your brain about everything people need to consider when outfitting their dorm. So welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I really am so excited to be here and just for the whole collaboration in general. I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a great fit for both Room 422 and Ballard. It's been fun to work on, and I'm excited for it to launch.
Well, maybe start by telling us a little bit about Room 422 and where, how you got the idea for the company and where it all started. We're going to share this picture that you brought of your dorm room in the episode and in the show notes.
So I went to the University of Alabama, and that's from 2010.
Tutwiler?
Tutwiler, which is no longer around. They redid it. But when I was getting ready to go off to school, I could not find bedding that I liked. The dorms have all these crazy rules where you can't drill or hammer or anything. You really can just stick things to the wall.
Mm-hmm.
My mom has a textile company. So we decided to make my own bedding. And so we made a slip-covered foam headboard that has Velcro on the back. And so it just Velcros directly to the wall, super lightweight. Mm-hmm. And so from there, I did it for me and my roommate and then a bunch of friends my freshman year. So that was 2010. And then from there, I just every summer would just keep doing it for friends and then my friends' little sisters. And then when I graduated, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so I was like, Mom, you really need to make this a part of your business. Like dorm bedding is really missing from the market. And she was like, I already have a business. It's a really good idea, but you should do it. And so I was like, okay. Not really knowing how to start a business, but I decided to go full time with that in February of 2015. So that was kind of how I started. And then just grew it from there very organically. I would travel and do trunk shows.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I started in Atlanta just because I'm from Atlanta. And so I had connections of, knowing girls that were going off to school. And so I would host a trunk show at this girl's house. She would invite all of her friends. And then my first year, literally the girl would be like, hey, my roommate lives in Birmingham. You should go to Birmingham. So I'd call her roommate in her Birmingham, talk to her mom and be like, tell her what I did. And she'd be like, okay, great. Can you come tomorrow? I'd be like, sure. Pack my car up, go to Birmingham. And then it just kind of led me like one place to the other. Then the next summer I would be a little bit more organized, plan it out, not just like get to a place and call their roommates. So really I did trunk shows for about the first 6 or 7 years. And then in 2020, I had 42 shows planned and COVID canceled every single show.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, my business is over. Like, what am I going to do? And so this is when we were all in lockdown. I made my dining room a dorm room. I brought everything home and set up a dorm room, and I would have virtual appointments or virtual shows. And so I would like FaceTime with these girls and just had all the samples and would just show them beds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised my husband was not like, you are crazy. What are you doing? But so that was in 2020. And then from there, we stopped doing trunk shows, which really was such a blessing because now I'm married and have kids. And that we would go on the road for 8 weeks at a time.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. So we basically make our way to Texas and back. It was really like I would focus on the Southeast.
Okay.
And now with the power of the internet and social media, I can, reach a way larger audience without traveling, which is so nice.
Yeah.
But that was kind of how I got started.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I bet. Okay. I have so many questions about the trunk shows because I bet you learned so much about your customers, these girls going off to college and like what they needed. And so maybe walk us through like, okay, what are the key elements in your, collection, your pieces, and how has that evolved over the years?
Yeah. So we've definitely tweaked some of our items just through the years. But so what I would do for the trunk shows is I would take a few of the headboards and the pillows, and we offer we call it an oversized pillow. It's like a Dutch Euro. Because we learned that not every dorm room is set up to have a headboard. The wall's kind of funky. You don't have a full wall that you can attach it to, or sometimes they're pushed up against a wall, but more like a day bed.
Right.
So people will use the oversized pillow as a headboard sometimes.
Okay, these pillows are really amazing though. They're pretty much the full width of a twin bed.
Yes.
So they can act as a headboard, or you can kind of put it off to the side and kind of make it a day bed.
Yeah, exactly. So it's 40 inches.
It's almost like a chicer version of like that boyfriend pillow.
The husband pillow.
Yes,
Or
like
boyfriend pillow.
The pillow with the arms on the side.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I had a big green furry one. I can
But it's like a stylish version of that, right?
Yes. It's nice to just have one big pillow that you can lean up against. Mm-hmm. You're in your bed a lot. So
yeah, it adds some support that's like firm enough to truly lean against.
Right.
If you're studying or on your feet or whatever.
And if you can't have a headboard, it's nice to have something between your head and the wall.
Right.
That's long enough to really cover. So yeah, we would take all these items and we took a little mini display bed and I would set up the display bed and then have the other samples that they could kind of mix and match the items with.
So cool. Okay. And then you've got a bed. So you've got the headboard, the Dutch pillow, the bed skirt.
Yeah. So the bed skirt, which we've tweaked that over the years too, but a lot of times the dorm beds are pushed up against one wall. So you really only see one long side and then the foot of the bed. So we make them in a set of three panels. So you put 2 panels on one long side and then one on the foot of the bed. And so we do that so you can get 2 and like under the bed easily. We've tried it with just one long side and it was just hard to flip that whole piece up. So having a split in the middle, because a lot of times the reason the bed's lofted is for storage underneath.
Right.
So that makes it, easier to get to and from whatever's under there.
Yeah, your plastic bins or whatever you put under there. Yeah.
And these are not your everyday bed skirts too.
Correct.
Because they are super long. They're like 30 plus inches long so that you can put the twin bed on a riser.
Yes.
And put storage underneath.
Right. And we now make them they have, each panel has 3 sets of ties. So that way you can kind of adjust the height depending if you add a riser that's a little bit taller and you need it to be longer, you can lower it a little bit or vice versa.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
So that way you can kind of adjust the height to where you need it for your bed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so smart.
Yeah. Yeah. And it helps keep the room looking clean. The rooms are small.
Right.
You want stuff under there. Don't want it to look so junky. So it keeps it nice and clean, but then you can have whatever you want under there.
Right. You have a lot of stuff you got to fit under there. So covering it with the fabric, it just makes it look a little more polished.
Yeah.
A little tidier.
Yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
Space is definitely at a premium.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
you got to maximize every inch.
Yeah. Well, the thing I love about your brand and the collaboration is the fabrics on the headboards are so fun. Of course, your mom being a textile designer, you're going to have very high standards, I imagine, for pattern. And so it's not just, we do have a solid white, I think in 5 colors. It's a solid white with a colored trim cording. But then we've got 3 stripes and 3 really chic florals. One is like sort of a hot pink, one's sort of a blue, then one's kind of a greenish, like mineral color. And they're just such pretty florals. So tell us about how the collaboration came about.
Yeah, so we looked at Ballard's bedding, what y'all offer in bedding, because we really wanted it to pair back so that we could incorporate those selections of shams and coverlets and all of that. So that's where we pulled the color inspo from. And then from there, we wanted to do a solid with a pipe just because that's a staple. And then I felt like a stripe, for us at least, or me personally, I love a stripe. And I sometimes feel like a stripe can serve as a solid, but giving you a little bit more pattern, but not too bold. You can mix and match other patterns with it without it feeling too busy.
Right.
So we colored the stripes back to the solids again. And then we did want to offer, a little bit more of a bold pattern. And we felt like florals have just been so in and, great. So we did choose 3 different florals. One's kind of an all-over floral. It's pink, like you said. And then there's more of a block print floral.
Yeah, and that's kind of the indigo colored one.
And then there's one it's kind of like a line drawing type. It's hand painted. And that one incorporates the kind of the mineral, and I think it has a little bit of like a light sagey green in it. So we tried to kind of hit a lot of different looks so that there's something for everyone.
Yeah.
So, and then we did an oversized pillow that kind of coordinated back to those. And we did those reversible or like double-sided. So you kind of are getting 2 looks for
I love that. Yeah.
You might change your mind what you like halfway through the semester or whenever.
Yeah.
But so we did the stripe on one side, and then we did a like smaller scale leopard in the colors, which I think was fun and, kind of out there. So I think it'll be fun.
Well, at Ballard, we really believe that leopard's a neutral.
Yes, exactly.
So we're good.
It's really just a polka dot, a little bit.
Really is.
Like a little polka dot with a little extra sassiness.
Yeah, it's really cute.
Yeah, and it's a pretty small scale.
It's pretty
leopard. Yeah.
It's not say subtle because it's not subtle, but it's not.
It's not screaming.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not going on safari.
Yeah. Correct.
So okay, let's get back to the trunk shows because I love this visual of you like traveling around with your stuff and setting it all up. So what sort of things did you learn, especially early on in your business?
Early on, it was honestly, I think it was like some of the most fun, but it was also like looking back, I'm like, that was so crazy. I would just show up to a random person's house and they would host a show for me. And I had literally never met them, maybe talked to them on the phone the day before. And we have, a few people in common. But so that part was really crazy, but also like really exciting and really fun to just really organically grow my business. And it really just took me, a lot of places that I probably wouldn't have gone. But I think that shows you too, like in the dorm, like you're also, every girl most of them have a roommate.
Right.
So, if you're working with one, you're really working with the other too.
Yeah.
So that's what led me to so many places. And I think what was fun, and I think we offer in this collection too, is it doesn't have to be so matchy-matchy.
Yes.
So like, because we have a solid that matches back to a stripe that also matches to this floral, say we're roommates and I'm like, I want the stripe. And you're like, well, I like the floral. There's colorways that match together. And, you can bring it all together and your room looks beautiful. Yeah. But it doesn't necessarily have to be the exact same bed.
Yeah.
So that was really fun to kind of have options to work with these girls and let them kind of pick out what they want to, not just your roommate picked this, so here's what she wants you to get. You could kind of do their own thing too.
Yeah, and you could have like maybe the same like quilt and the monogram pillow, but different headboards in the same, similar color. And yeah. And well, it's so fun because I trying to think back on, when you figure out who your roommate is and you're leading up to college and like the spring semester, I feel like that's kind of the first interaction you have with your roommate is picking out your bedding and your bed stuff together, like sending pictures back and forth and collaborating in that way before you've even met the person in real life.
I mean, I feel like we a lot of times were where the roommates would come. I mean, they had talked before, but they would come meet to like pick out their bedding together. So we were kind of there for that initial.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Which is so fun. And going to college can be stressful, but I feel like picking your bedding was like a fun, not so stressful, or we were trying to make it less stressful. Yeah. And so I feel like we got to see the fun interactions of girls meeting and, they're excited
over it.
Yeah, and they're excited to go to school and they're excited to pick out the bedding. And their moms are excited.
Yeah, talk to us about the mom and daughter angle. It's so fun that it was a little bit of a collaboration between your mom and you.
Yes.
And then now you're kind of creating that for other people as well.
For sure. So, yes. First of all, my mom helped me. I would not be here without my mom. So, I am so grateful for all the help she's ever given me and still gives me to this day. And that was really fun to do this together too. All of Room 422. But in terms of the daughter and the mom purchasing Room 422, I think it's the daughter that is living with it, but I think the mom is just as involved. She wants her daughter's room to be beautiful. It's a lot of times it's the first time she's leaving her daughter. So I feel like what I've seen is it's a little piece of, or a little way for her to be like, okay, her room's beautiful. Like she feels at home. Like I feel a little bit better about leaving her
right
in a random place, in a dorm room that's not always so glamorous.
With strangers.
Right? Yeah.
Setting up for success.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think like the mom, it's one way that she can make sure that there's a safe place for her to come home to and like feels comfortable. So I think that is something fun to see, like that they're just as involved and care just as much how it looks. But we've seen a lot of mother and daughter reaction, or interaction.
Maybe the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we've seen anything horrible. Maybe just like disagreeing on a color or a pattern, as plenty of mother-daughter duos do.
Oh, totally.
So, yeah.
Well, talk to me about making. You said in the early years that you were making the headboards yourself. So talk to me about that.
I was not sewing them. But,
okay.
I was using my mom's workroom. But when I did first start, my first year, I bought fabric from my mom and was making them. And then from there, we kind of felt like we needed to change it up a little. So then I did start designing my own fabric, just to kind of set it apart, which was a really great. I probably wouldn't have done it. I don't have a like background, but I do love that part now. So I think that part's fun to actually design the patterns, and so I was not doing the sewing though. I did go to sewing camp one time, but I was not sewing though.
I was picturing you like at home on your floor of your bedroom, like making these headboards. So
no. I was like picking the fabrics and putting the collections together, but I was not doing the sewing.
Okay, got it.
No.
Well, talk to us about, if you've got the headboard, or I guess maybe, or the Dutch pillow, but if you've got your sort of bed skirt, you've got the headboard, but what about the bedding? Because I do feel like maybe there's a difference in what type of bedding makes sense for a dorm that differs from maybe your bedroom at home, or maybe it should be the same. I don't know. What do you think about dressing your bed?
I think you spend a lot of time in your bed. So I do think that you want decent bedding, whether that is like top of the line or middle of the line, whatever your budget is. But I do think you don't want to buy just like throwaway bedding.
Right.
I mean, you're there a lot,
Yeah. Especially in a dorm room. There is no other place other than
Right.
bed. That's where you're studying. That's where you're eating. That's where you're sleeping. Like, that's where you're hosting friends. If
I was
they
going to
come
say, when
over.
your friends come over, they're all on your bed. So, I mean, I do think something like somewhat durable, or to be able to clean, I would say, is a big thing. I feel like a lot of people are scared of white, but I mean, white for me at least, I think white's really easy to clean.
Yeah.
But, maybe not like hand embroidered bedding that's
right. It's machine
nothing
washable.
too delicate. Yeah.
Nothing too
You're putting it in the
exactly.
dorm washer and
Correct.
dryer.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I think you're there a lot. So I don't think it's something you should like totally skimp out on. So.
Well, do you need like, I would think that like the basic would be sheets, bedspread, or like matelassé quilt something, and then a duvet?
Again, I think it's like total preference, but a lot of dorms don't have your own like air unit. Like you can kind of vary, but so sometimes, or at least for me, it's like sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's hot. I feel like a sheet, a coverlet, and then even just having a duvet at the end. So then you do have something like heavier if it's cold or not, or a blanket at least. So.
Okay. And then y'all have the big Dutch pillow, and also we've got a cute. I don't know if did we mention that the cute little monogrammed pillow?
I don't think so.
What about like pillows? How many pillows is too many in a dorm room? Is there such a thing? We have this debate about regular bedrooms.
I am
maybe a little more
not
space.
a good person to ask if I do not believe there's too many pillows, but I do think in a dorm, you do need to be mindful. The room is small. You don't want your floor to be covered in pillows at all times. We see a lot, the oversized pillow, the applique, maybe a lumbar.
And like your actual pillow you're sleeping on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the pillow you're sleeping on. So, and maybe that's too much for some people. So, I feel like some people just do the sleeping pillow, then the oversized pillow, and then just one accent pillow in front of that.
Yeah.
But I don't know that you want to like bombard your bed with pillows. I would, but I don't know the average person would.
Okay, well, I'm looking at your freshman dorm. You've got 2 sleeping pillows, a large patterned pillow. It's not like a Dutch pillow.
No, I did not have the oversized for that was later
you had a
on.
headboard.
I did have a headboard, yes.
And the applique pillow that is in our collection, essentially.
Yes.
I mean, it's a different color, but yeah.
The applique, that was the first time we ever made that applique, was for
your freshman dorm.
Yeah, for my
and
freshman
you
dorm.
even have this super cute cafe curtain kind of. Well, I guess it's not a cafe, but a curtain.
Yes.
How did you get the measurement for that?
They
gave it to you?
Yeah.
And you made a custom curtain.
I did make a custom curtain.
Adorable. Does it have a pinch pleat? It's hard to tell. Looks like it might have a pinch pleat.
I love this.
I don't know. I'd have to look. I do know
details are
it's
just so
on like a
fantastic.
tension rod with command hooks because, we had to be creative
Right.
with how we hung it. But I'm sure I tried to fake some.
I mean, did you have
pinch pleats.
any idea freshman year that you were setting yourself up for an entire business?
No. Oh my gosh. No. Okay, so I went into college thinking I wanted to be an interior designer, got there, and like, or maybe I was working on something at home and my mom's like, okay, well, go pick out white paint. And I was like, I called her and was like, I can't pick out white paint. Like there's 1 million whites and I can't pick out the right one. And she was like, okay, well, if you can't pick out white paint, we might need to rethink this.
That's hard. Picking out white paint is hard.
I like had a meltdown. This was in high school. This was at orientation. So I come back, change my mind. I'm like, my mom had done some work for some events. And so I had gotten to go work for them. And I was like, I want to do event planning. Like that was it. So I made like my whole 4 years in college, majored in hospitality, focused in events, interned for like the athletic department, would do events at school, all that. And then I had an internship with a event planner who I still love to this day. And we did all weddings all summer. And we had one in the Bahamas, and I called her and was like, my mom, I was like, I'm never getting married. I don't want a wedding. And I don't want to do event planning anymore. And she's like, okay, well, you have 1 semester of school left.
Oh my gosh.
You're not changing your major. And I was like, okay. And she's like, you're going to graduate and we're going to figure it out. I was like, okay. So I was doing this on the side. And I loved doing it. I thought it was fun. But I didn't really know much about A, running a business, but B, the like manufacturing side, anything like that. And so I was like, Mom, you really need to do this. And she was like, no, I'm busy, but like, it really is such a great idea. You should do it. And I was like, okay. And so I just went for it. And
well, that hospitality degree helped you out with the trunk shows.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I love how supportive and just real your mom is with you.
Yes. I mean, both my parents are so supportive, have been from day one. I could not do it without them. But yeah, they were like, just go for it. Just try it. So.
Well, your mom's an entrepreneur, so that helps. She can, maybe helped instill that entrepreneurial spirit in you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in her blood. So it's in my blood, I guess.
Well, how do you think, say some of our listeners, their daughters have just maybe picked a college or found their roommate, and like, do you think a starting point? I mean, do you need to start with the like sort of guidelines from your school? Can you just pick stuff out? Are there things people should take into account before they go shopping?
I think definitely look on your school website. A lot of times each school varies on like giving the dorm assignments. So you might not know necessarily which dorm you're in, but I would say overall, they all have relatively like the same regulations, if you will. Like they don't want you drilling in the walls or hammering in the walls, but you can stick things to the walls. So you can use command strips and all of that, the Velcro. But in terms of like, you might not necessarily know how your bed is set up in each room. They definitely show you, or a lot of them show you pictures online. You can do like a virtual tour. Or if you're at the campus, most dorms have like a sample room that you can go in.
Yeah.
So I feel like you can kind of get a gist from that of what you can have or what you can't have. So I feel like definitely check that out before you just start like buying whatever you want. But then I feel like for roommates, sometimes just like talking like, do they want to design their dorm? Or are they like, no, that's not my vibe. Like first I would get on that same page.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
And then from there, I feel like kind of figuring out the color or the look that they're going for. And then I feel like they just kind of, from there, it'll naturally figure out what they want, like the look to be.
Have you guided roommates into like how to design their space?
We'll definitely give suggestions of like, if someone's like, where should I get a rug? Or, and like some people want like side tables in between the beds, and things like that. So we'll definitely give recommendations there. I do not do the installs. I have been asked. I just feel like move-in day is a little crazy, and
you're only one person,
and there's just a lot going on. It's a small space. There's a lot, they don't need an extra body there. So we do not do the full like install or design, but we'll definitely like help with suggestions or like lead them where to look for things. Because we don't offer everything for your dorm. So
that's why we're partnering.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
And like that's one thing I think too for this collaboration. I feel like Ballard, does have a lot to offer. The bedding, art, a lamp, a little side table. So it can serve as a one-stop shop for someone, which there's a lot of people that want that like to just check it off a list and just get it all in once.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be a really great, option.
Well, the thing that I love about the collection really is that you've kind of taken the guesswork out of it to where it's pretty easy if, say, you pick like the cornflower floral headboard, right? Then you can pretty much look for any bedding that comes in that cornflower color, and it's going to coordinate back. Like it's going to be close enough to, if not match, look good together. And then you can pick whatever quilt or duvet or sheet set you want, and you can kind of play with it. And there's still a lot of options where it's not cookie cutter, but it's not, you're not going to pull your hair out being like, is this sheet or this quilt going to look good with the headboard or, match to the duvet? Like it's a little bit more.
Right. Or you're not going to like fall in love with this headboard and then the blue and you're like, I can't find a matching blue coverlet.
Right.
I feel like Ballard's done such a great job of here's the blue that matches. Maybe it's not matchy exactly, but
it's close enough.
It's close enough.
Yeah.
And it looks great with it. So I feel like that is a big selling point too that will be very helpful. They don't want a million options.
Yeah.
I've learned that. When I first started, I had all these fabrics and I would just let them customize everything. And people would get overwhelmed. They don't need endless options.
Yeah. No, this is already stressful and like
you have a lot to consider.
Yeah. Just going into a new school, a new place.
Yeah.
You got to pack up all your clothes. You got to bring all of your things, pick classes, meet new people. Like there's a lot to do.
There's a lot of decisions to make. So I think it's better to have options for them.
Yeah. Well, it's so nice because I know, we've had Amy, our bedding merchant, on the podcast, and we've talked all about mixing and matching your bedding, a quilt and a duvet and how to use different textures and all this stuff. And she's done such a good job, like creating pieces that all coordinate, and then they all coordinate to the headboard. So it's just it's like a very seamless transition. It looks so good too in the photography and how we've all shown it together. So y'all did a great job pulling it off.
Thank you. I think it looks great. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we talked at one point about a checklist. What are those checklist items?
I would love to talk more about that. Like, what are some things that are essential beyond, even beyond the bed?
Yeah, beyond the bedding. Okay, so all the bedding. I think a storage cube. Like I said, it's very versatile. It serves a lot of purposes. The beds are lofted, so you can use it as a stepping stool, which is nice to get up on the bed. Has storage, extra seating. So I think a storage cube of some type is very nice. I had drawers under my bed. But some type of organization under your bed, I think, is helpful to really maximize that space under there. Whether it's, bins but just some type of organization under your bed, I think is really nice.
Yeah.
I think lighting, like a lamp in there, really helps. It has that like overhead fluorescent light and
nobody looks good in that.
No.
Right. And just like lamplight really softens it, makes it feel more homey. So I think just adding some lamplight goes a long way.
Yeah. And you're not always like looking in your bin for something. Maybe you're trying to watch a movie.
Right.
Or you're, socializing with your girlfriends.
Yeah.
And you don't want it to be quite so like task lighting.
Yeah. And like anything that can bring the comforts of home. And I feel like lighting really does that. Yeah. Because there's definitely a homesick component.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think adding art to the wall, I think goes a long way too. I think a lot of the walls are not beautiful. A lot of them are cinder block walls.
Right?
You don't choose the color. They're not that beautiful white that I could not decide.
It's not white dove.
It's not white dove. So I think like adding some art on the walls helps a lot. And then just like any small thing, like if you sleep with a sound machine, just like try to make it feel a little homier goes a long way too.
Gosh, this is making me think too, because I've got a kid that's going to college in a year from now. So like thinking about like, these are also not just a checklist for like the things you need to bring, but the things you need to talk to your roommate about.
Yeah.
Like,
I know,
a sound machine.
Yeah.
I'm like,
what if your roommate does not like the rainforest sound?
True.
Right.
Please check with roommate first.
Yeah. Wow. The whole psychology of that.
Yeah. But I think a rug too. That was what I was going to say. I feel like a rug helps soften the room too.
Well, you've either got like that horrible gray, like commercial carpet, or it's just like linoleum floors. I feel like those are your two options. Yeah.
Right. Most likely linoleum.
Yeah.
You know?
I think we had like that commercial like
did you?
carpet situation, which is better than linoleum, but not great.
Yeah. We definitely have the linoleum.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
just need flip-flops.
Yeah.
When it gets all chalky.
Yeah.
So
I feel like a rug goes a long way.
Under bed bins, but any other like storage that's like cute, or should you try to hide your storage as much as possible?
No, I think like try to maximize your space. So if you have a space like in between your beds, I would try to find a piece that does have extra storage. Just you can put snacks in there or whatever, your toiletries. But I think definitely trying to maximize or find other ways to have more storage is nice.
Yeah. Well, I guess some dorms have more like built-in storage than others. So I suppose it would really be determined by your, wherever you're living.
Right.
Yeah. Any other tips for, moms before they're sending their daughters off? Because you've had so many interactions with parents and daughters together. Any other advice you might have for some of our listeners?
I really think like try to have fun with the dorm or picking out the bedding part and move-in day. Try to enjoy and like take a deep breath and, if the perfect piece of art didn't come in and it's coming in the next week, like it's going to be okay. Things like that. But I think too, try to just make the room comfortable. I think it makes the mom feel better and the daughter feel better. Like leaving your child for the first time. I mean, that's emotional. I can't imagine leaving my child. So I think if you can leave them in a room that you feel confident that it feels like a piece of home, it's like she's in this beautiful room that she feels like she's at home. I think it helps the mom like at ease a little bit,
Totally.
Not just like dropped her off.
My mom historically has helped me move a few different times, and every time she can't leave until the drapes are hung. And then she's like, okay.
Oh, well, that's great because that's a terrible task.
Yeah.
Like she's
that
like,
is so helpful.
Do it. Like, so the drapes are hung and then she's like, okay, I can leave now.
Remember, I feel like I might have kicked my parents out. It was like, let me do that. I don't know. I don't really remember them unpacking me.
No.
But I mean,
no. There was no unpacking, but the drapes were hung.
Yeah. I love that.
That's funny. Okay, what about after freshman year? What happens to or have you seen like what do you do to transition?
Yeah, so depending on what their next like situation of living is, like if they go into another, like a lot of sorority houses have this similar twin bed setup, so we have a lot of girls that just reuse it again. In some schools, you live in a dorm again, so it works perfectly for that. But, sometimes they are moving into a full or a queen size bed. And I feel like, the twin headboard doesn't necessarily work for a larger size bed, but they take the oversized pillow, the applique, the storage cube, I feel like lives forever.
Yeah. That's going with you to your first apartment too. Yeah. All of
like
that stuff,
I have 2 storage cubes in my kids' playrooms. I'm like, they live forever.
Yeah.
They have a lot of uses. And I feel like appliques can live forever too.
Yeah.
They're very timeless and pretty, and you can put it on any size bed. You could add another one if you wanted 2 on a bed. So I feel like we have a lot of customers that do, take their bedding with them and if they want a full-size bed or a queen-size headboard, we do offer that. So
Yeah.
if people come back for that too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
You can probably, because the beds are so lofted, you could probably use a queen or a full-size quilt
Yeah,
as well.
Oh,
we
that's
do
smart.
have.
Yeah. And then you're really investing in your bedding for
Yeah.
a longer time.
Yeah, we have had people do that, so that they can use it more than just once of twin.
So they would buy like a twin sheet, but the matelassé and the duvet, they'd buy a queen.
Mhm.
Smart.
So then you
Right.
can
Oh, that's
take
genius.
it,
Right.
Yeah.
take it with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll drape so nicely over
Right,
the ends as
right.
well. Like
Yeah.
it'll kind of hang over your bed skirt a little bit. Yeah. Like, do you have feelings about or any ideas about where to put your budget and like
I
things to
think-
splurge on, things to save on?
I think the budget, I think what's like really great about this collection is everyone's budget can be very different, right?
Mhm,
So
right.
it's like, I don't want to say a certain number is what you should budget for your bedding, but I think what's great about this collection is every single item is sold individually. So it's not a set. So it's not like a
Mhm.
set price. If you want to splurge on one thing, you can, and then be creative or find pillows or, other items
Mm-hmm.
somewhere else. So I think that's really nice and like really budget friendly for a wider audience.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think on the other side, it's really nice that Ballard can serve as a one-stop shop.
Mhm,
Like you
right.
can get everything for your dorm room all at once, which I think is so nice.
Yeah.
Especially when they're like trying to do a million different things. But I think if I were to suggest, one key piece, I think the headboard really goes a long way.
Mhm.
It really softens the room. You can't find it just everywhere.
Yeah.
You can find a pillow a lot of places.
Yeah.
You really can't find a dorm headboard just anywhere.
Right.
So I think that would probably be my number one item would be the headboard. I
Mhm.
think the bed skirt also,
Yeah.
those
That you're not finding really
That's true.
anywhere else.
You're
It
not
is so
finding
special.
that. Right. And it really does like complete the look of your bed.
Mhm.
And really like ties your room together. So I think those two items are, maybe splurge worthy
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
the collection. But yeah.
I love bedding. So I am like you're sleeping on it all the time. And so the bedding to me, I mean, obviously the headboard, to your point, like it's not like you can go, get one anywhere.
Right.
But I just love bedding. And I feel like makes such a difference in your sleep, and good quality bedding is like important. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
to me like
sleep's so important. So
sleep,
it's
yeah,
like
so
you
important.
want to be comfortable in your bed. You want to get a good night's sleep. So
we were thrilled to have you. Thank you for coming by.
thank you.
We're so excited to launch the collection and for everybody to see it.
Yeah.
Can you tell everyone where they can find you and follow you?
Room 422. We have a website, room422.com, and then
Mhm.
also on Instagram, just room 422.
Okay.
And then the Ballard collection will be Ballard.
BallardDesigns.com/dorm.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's our show. And that's our show. You can find all of the show notes on our blog, howtodecorate.com/podcast.
To send in a decorating dilemma, email your questions to podcast@ballarddesigns.net so we can help you with your space.
And of course, be sure to follow us on social media at Ballard Designs.
Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And please leave us a review. We'd love to hear your feedback.
Until next time, happy
Happy
decorating.
decorating.